Hey guys, welcome back to the workshop. And as you see, we have a slight change of scenery to the workspace here. I hope you like it. But that's not the topic of today's video. I'm just gonna settle you down here real quick. So what I do want to show you guys are the animatronic cosplay wings that I've been working on for the last couple of months. These wings are a part of a costume that I'm working on, which is Mercy from Overwatch. But I'm working on not the in-game version, but on the collector's edition concept version of Mercy, where she's still depicted as this battle angel medic kind of guy. I posted a few videos on Instagram and Reddit featuring these wings, and there was a lot of interest, and I thought that I might just make a standalone video looking in the wings more in depth, even though they're not finished. Quite a few people left comments saying that these wings might be a nice base for other characters' wings, so this video is also for those people who would like to learn more about mine. So in this video I would like to go over the mechanism, the components that I used, talk about the future of the project and the origin story. I know it's still kind of in a bare bones state and I need to produce the actual wings that will mount to the skeleton, but I do think that some people who are more interested in the technical part of the cosplay might benefit and get some insights on how wings even work. After Gamescom 2018, where I wore my Doomfist costume, I knew that I'm gonna be making another costume that's animatronic, but I knew that I wanted to also make it larger in scale.
That's not just molded plastic.
This is metal, and look at that. It's animated. It articulates.
Well, look at that.
There were a lot of candidates for this project, namely Brigitte from Overwatch, that I also wanted to make. But I ultimately decided against it because my interest kind of waned a little bit, and also I realized that if I wanted to make a costume from steel, which I wanted to, my skills are still not up to par to make a complete suit of armor from steel, just like that. And there weren't that many animatronic parts to her anyway for me to explore and develop. So for a while I was working on some other metal, animatronic, electronic projects, and I think it was a few months ago when someone jokingly suggested that I should cosplay Mercy on my Twitch stream. And at the beginning it was just kind of a joke because, you know, I made the brass halo for her just as a one-off prop, but you know, the seed was planted. Because when you think about it, she's really ticking all the boxes. She has big wings, she has awesome props, the silhouette is very memorable, you know, with the halo and everything. And the costume itself has a lot of interesting opportunities for creative lighting and other electronics and visual effects. Plus I love Overwatch and that entire universe is just so exciting to me, so Mercy was kind of a strong candidate. So the gears started turning and I went on to do my research. And it wasn't until I found the rare, obscure concept art version Mercy from the collector's edition art book that I was really sold on the idea. And of course I had to pick the most obscure and rare version of Mercy because I hate having reference material and myself, I guess. But although obscure, I think with the wings and the halo and the staff, people will still be able to recognize that it's Mercy that I'm cosplaying. So as you see here, there are quite a few differences in the wing design between the in-game version and the concept version that I'm making. The concept version has only 3 blades and this kind of a 4th wing cap of a thing on top. So with this in mind, I made some sketches and I started working on a mock-up in Fusion 360. I knew that I'm going to be using off-the-shelf components, so that simplified the task a little bit because I already had like a start-off point where and how I'm going to make them move. I mostly got inspired from other sequential mechanisms, and there was this one picture from Google Images that I found of a mechanical watch that I really sort of took to heart, and I tried to sort of get the idea how they deploy in a row, and I tried to replicate that in my own design. So if I can offer a piece of advice to you guys, it would be look for inspiration for mechanisms for your props in weird and unexpected places, because maybe there's already something out there that moves the way you would like your prop to move, and you could just reverse engineer that rather than to spend time developing something of your own from scratch. The main feathers of the wing are deployed by a linear actuator, and they're mounted to it with a series of interlocking plates that are slightly offset to one another. The front to back motion is achieved by mounting both of the wings on high torque DC motors. Both the motors and the linear actuators are controlled by a DC motor driver board that's connected to an Arduino. The range of motion for these wings is determined by a couple of limit switches. So whenever the wing reaches the end of its expected motion, it just kills the power to the motor and it stops. Both linear actuators and the DC motors are worm drive, so that means that they lock up when they're not powered and you cannot move them. And that means that they do not consume extra power. And that's pretty much opposite of servos that I, for example, used in my Doomfist costume, where even that they're idle, they still consume power just to stay in place. And it's really bad if you want your costume to last like an 8-hour convention day and you don't want to swap loads of batteries. With Doomfist, for example, I needed to change batteries maybe every 2 to 3 hours. And that's just way too power hungry for a convention day, especially if you're like flexing a lot and the lights are going off, so that consumes a lot of power. With Mercy, I expect to last an entire convention day with a single charge. And speaking of charge, I'm using a regular 4-cell LiPo pack, mostly because the components at the moment that I'm using require 12 volts. So that kind of fits well, and I know that when I'm going to be using a lot of LEDs, I'll need a bit more juice than a single battery. But for now, for testing purposes, I'm just using one. A 4-cell LiPo is actually 15 volts, while the motors are rated for 12 volts. But since I'm not running them, for a long period at a time, I think it's fine, and I've noticed that they're moving quite a bit more faster than when I power them with 12 volts. So yeah, I think it's just an upside for me. Each wing is a mirror image of one another, so even though they're not really synchronized in any way in software, since the components are the same, they move symmetric. At the moment I'm using just a simple 2-axis joystick to control them. I have the X-axis for spreading them and Y-axis for elevating them and contracting them. A joystick is good for troubleshooting, but I think I might have something different for the final version. So you probably noticed by now that in the reference there's 3 feathers plus a wing cap, while on my design there's only 3 feathers without a wing cap. Yeah, and that's the main issue right now, because initially I thought about using a servo motor for the wing cap, and now I'm really sort of thinking against it. The added complexity of having servos and everything to power them and control them, it just adds so many potential points of failure in the costume, and I want to make my costume as reliable as I can. So now I'm just really struggling with a way how to make the linear actuator and the existing mechanism move another moving part without, messing everything up. And that's quite a big challenge, because the mechanism works fine as is, and I'm thinking that if I start messing with it, I might need to remake the entire thing from scratch. And although risky, I kind of want to try making the linear actuator drive the 4th feather as well, mostly because it will be just so much smoother of an animation if it's driven by the same motor, So I guess that's where we are right now. I guess you'll see which decision I went with, be it servos or the linear actuator mechanism, in the next video. Anyways, guys, I hope you liked the video and maybe learned a thing or two, and I'm really grateful for your support and patience. The Mercy Halo Part 2 is still in the works. The only reason I didn't finish the video yet is because I'm waiting for some special parts, but I'm going to be covering that in the separate video. So if you're curious about that, or you would like to see the finished wings, please consider subscribing to this channel. It would really mean a lot to me, and it would show that you care, and I would be very grateful. In any case, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.
Got a very extravagant Doomfist.
Now, do we know if it's actual gold?
Yes, apparently.
What?
Yeah, apparently it's actual gold plated.
Okay.
It's steel, and then is real gold plated. So